Ah, another beautiful day in the Garden of Eden. I just wish my deck was any good.
Adam, I see you're having some difficulties with your deck. Why don't you take this apple and be enlightened?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Snake. I should play AZAMINA and get some clothes.
Good afternoon, Jank enthusiasts. I'm MBT, and this is 10-Minute Testing. It's been fun these last few weeks pretending like the next big deck would come courtesy of the Neptibussi or Mr. Mimighoul, but let's be real. We're one YCS into the new format, and it's time to talk about the deck that just won't die and the new tools that it's gotten. Presenting AZAMINA Snake Eye.
Oh, I'm a snake!
So here's the list, courtesy of Dominic Couch from the most recent YCS. As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course the card by card. But first, this video is sponsored by Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck. I've been shilling Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck for, well, years at this point, and I'm happy to announce I have no intention of stopping anytime soon. By now, they've become the most complete repository of tournament tops on the internet, the best place to jam prog with friends, and of course, still host strategy articles. Recently, they've added a new piece of infrastructure to the fold, a 3-card arena draft, draftable with card pools featuring classic formats, Master Duel, or within any parameters you like. Give it, or any of their other features, a look at www.ygoprodeck.com. With that, let's assess AZAMINA Snake Eye. By this point, Snake Eye needs no introduction. It's one of the greatest advantage engines of all time, bolstered by some extremely short-sighted generic support for fire monsters. It's been the best deck in multiple formats, multiple iterations, and boasts an ability that far surpasses all other decks to integrate new cards into its established lines. After the most recent ban list, however, this titan of tier lists had been brought down a peg, and with one Ash and one Poplar, it looked to be a shadow of its former self. Until now! The release of the AZAMINA cards breathed new life into this ailing archetype. Diabellstar, previously a machine that turns one card in hand into exactly OSS, now has the capacity to, through deception, set up a negate before committing to anything. This goes both ways as well. Deception is full combo plus a negate into anything. With almost 100% certainty, any hand that could find Diabellstar or Deception can now play through both Nibiru and Imperm. Most importantly, this development marks a new age in how we think about deck construction. Since everyone is now on Fuwa Loss, everyone needs to have a low-impact version of their end board to play around it as best they can. And low-to-the-ground setups like AZAMINA, with the capacity to end on 1 or 2 points of interaction, may be the first forays into a new, more exciting way to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Period. But we'll see. With that, let's get into the card by card. Unsurprisingly, we are leading with Snake Eyes, and Dominic Couch did not play any more than the 4. We've got Snake Eye Ash, Snake Eye Oak, Snake Eye Poplar, and Snake Eyes Flamberge Dragon. Some individuals have played a second copy of Oak, or God forbid a Birch. I wouldn't recommend it. They're also playing the honorary Snake Eye Diabellstar, alongside 3 copies of Diabellstar, 1 copy of the Fiendsmith, and the newly released Lacrima the Scarlet Sorrow. This card really fixes Fiendsmith for me. I was always frustrated with just how the engine played, but now going from the Requiem into the Lacrima in order to send the Fiendsmith means that you don't have to play multiple copies, you don't have to play Tract, you don't have to play Lurie, and you don't have to play those terrible-ass rank 6s. Oh, thank goodness my end board with 1,000,000 points of interaction now also has a Caesar on it. Moving on, we've got some non-engine, 3 copies of Fuwa Ross, 3 copies of Ash Blossom Joy Spring, 3 Effect Veiler, a Magnamut, a Druis Worm, and 2 copies of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, which is making a very big resurgence. Importantly, very good against exactly Centurion, the deck that is expected to be the best at playing around the most turn-ending hand traps. Fuwa Loss, Perulia, and also Dimension Shifter. After that, we've got the spells, 3 Bonfire, 3 Wanted Seeker of Sinful Spoils, which is now searchable, which means that you'll be able to dilute the pool of cards in deck low enough that you can actually find a piece of non-engine at the end of your combo. 1 OSS, 1 Divine Temple of the Snake Eye, the Hallowed AZAMINA, which allows you to reveal an AZAMINA fusion monster in the extra deck and send a Sinful Spoils card from your hand or field to the graveyard for every 4 levels the revealed monster has, and then special summon it. If this card is in your graveyard, you can target an AZAMINA you control or have in your graveyard, shuffle it into the deck, and add this card to your hand. The use case for this is going to be sending this exact next card, Deception of the Sinful Spoils, to the graveyard in order to get Murcielago into Wanted, Wanted into Diabellstar, and then sending the Murcielago in order to make a link summon, shuffling back the Hallowed AZAMINA, and before you commit to anything that requires a response, making a negate. Deception says you contribute a monster from your hand or field, add an AZAMINA from your deck to your hand. If a monster is sent to your opponent's graveyard and you control an AZAMINA, yes, it wins in time. You can make your opponent lose 1,500, and if you do, gain 1,500. During the end phase, if this card is in your graveyard because it was sent there from the spell and trap zone this turn while face up, you can set it. This card's actually really confounding for a number of reasons. Obviously, its ability to search pretty much anything is unmatched, but it sort of messes with how people play time cards. Now, your opponent who was going to use a time card to get into a position in Game 3 where they were going to win by burning you can't do that, because the time card is going to have to do 2,500 points of damage to beat Deception of the Sinful Spoils. Things are changing, folks. We've got 1 copy of Called by the Grave, 3 infinite impermanents, and our target for Silhouette Rabbit. In the extra, we've got all the usual suspects, though none of the Xyz. We've got Relinquished Anima, Silhouette Rabbit, Zealantis, and Raging Phoenix making a return, as is Nightmare Phoenix. Just a lot of spell traps you want to get rid of. You do kind of have room for 1 generic link to fire, and this is the best of them with the most utility. Importantly, it can be part of an end board, and it's just nice to have the flexibility back. 1 Promethean Princess, 1 Hita, 1 Masquerena, 1 SP Little Knight, 1 Moon of the Closed Heaven, 1 Requiem, 1 Sequentia, 1 Dies Irae. We were playing 1 copy of Illa Sylvia. When your opponent activates a card effect as a quick, you contribute this card to negate that effect, and it has some other effects that aren't going to come up. Then Murcielago, which says monsters your opponent controls lose 500 attack and defense for each AZAMINA you control, and if this card is fusion summoned, you can add an AZAMINA or Sinful Spoils from your deck to your hand, and if destroyed by battle or card effect, you can add a Sinful Spoils spell from your deck to your hand. In the side, we've got 3 copies of Berulia, 2 Nibiru, really diminished in utility now that AZAMINA is everywhere, 1 Baldrake, 1 Feather Duster, triple Tactics Talents, and some targets in Dimensional Barrier and D Ground, 1 Talent, and 1 Skill Drain. So with that, let's jump into the games. Our first match is up against Tearlament, and thank God our opponent has nothing in the opener that interacts with us, because this hand loses to an Ash Blossom. We're going to go for Bonfire, and this is just the classic Snake Eye setup. I want to prove that this is still playable, but you will get to see a little bit of the new Fiendsmith part of the line. We're going to go for Poplar into Divine Temple, into the Snake Eye Diabellstar, kind of disrespecting Nibiru here. We're going to go Oak, bring back this copy of Ash, and then afterwards we'll activate the effect of the Oak in order to get our Flambridge on the field a little earlier than usual. We'll go Poplar targeting the Snake Eye Diabellstar, and I do something kind of weird here. I am going to go into the Relinquished Anima before I go into Moon of the Closed Heaven, because I want to keep this Druisworm on as an extender without having to banish any of the Light Fiends. Anyway, we go for Lacrima here. We're going to send this copy of the Fiendsmith to the graveyard, shuffle back this copy of Moon of the Closed Heaven, and then shuffle everything back to make a Desiree. From here, we can make a Promethean Princess, and this would have been a sick Nibiru. Thankfully, they don't have them. They're going to go for Sequentia, target this copy of Dies Irae, then we're going to go Promethean Princess for a Snake Eyes Flambird Dragon. We'll negate the effect of the Promethean Princess, link up from a Masquerena into a Silhouette Rabbit, then activate the effect of the Snake Eyes Flambird Dragon for the Masquerena before passing back to our opponent. Our opponent's going to go for Danger Nessie here, and the cat's out of the bag. They're going to pitch this copy of Rhino Heart. We'll activate the effect of the Divine Temple here. They're going to activate the effect of the Rhino Heart, and check out that sick thrust target, by the way. Threatening Roar. God, top 3 deck Tenpai coming in hot. They're going to go for the effect of Shiren here. We're going to go for the effect of the Druisworm. They're going to keep it off the field by using the effect of their Kashtira Tearlament, but that still does get us where we want. They'll trigger the Kashtira Tearlament and the Shaddoll Beast in the graveyard. Fool lost just a little too late. They're going to go for the Tactics Talents here, and unfortunately we are going to have to negate that with our Dies Irae. They're going to go Moon of the Closed Heaven, and we will go for Promethean Princess. I chain the effect of Flambridge and chain the effect of nothing else. Oops, let this be a lesson to you. You need to continue holding A to do always chain on Edo Pro. Okay, I think we can still salvage it. We'll just unlock ourselves and then go into an Azure Rune, so we can use the Azure Rune in order to contest the Redoer, at which point our opponent will pass. Okay, no harm, no foul. Okay, we'll go Druisworm here, target this copy of Shaddoll Beast in the graveyard. They will flip Threatening Roar, we'll negate it, giggling a little bit. They're going to go Fuwa Lost to show that they have it, and we'll normal summon our own as a mutual show of Fuwa Lossian respect. Let's get in for Well Over Lethal. Woof. So that's what the deck does on the play, but how does it perform on the draw? Our opponent for game 2 is playing Melodious, and we've got the Fualas. Let's fire it off into an Orange Light. So this is a pretty interesting one. This deck, Melodious, really eats hand traps for breakfast, and we only have the Ash Blossom, which thankfully does stop the Ostinato. They are going to be able to go from their first movement solo into a Refrain here, which is kind of full combo, but their end board isn't, like, fantastic. It is very beatable. They're going to go Baka off the Concerto. They searched off the Couplet here. Then they will reset both the Couplet and this copy of Refrain before activating the effect of the Soprano in order to grab back Shopina. They'll go Refrain, target the Baka, send an Aria into a copy of Bloom Harmonist. God, my kingdom for a Veiler. Instead, they're going to go ahead and grab an Elegy and then summon out the Shopina and the Couplet and the Soprano. The Shopina will bring back the Aria. Then they'll use the effect of the Soprano to go into an Étoile. They're going to Pendulum summon 1, 2, 3 out, and then activate a Polymerization to also end on a Schuberta before passing turn. We'll draw for turn. A lot of starters here. We're going to begin with the effect of Deception. We'll go for Deception into Bestial Magnamut. We'll activate the Bestial Magnamut on field, then we'll activate Deception in order to send the Bestial Magnamut and prompt this Flowering Étoile. Okay, now Ash is the only thing we're going to be able to activate over the course of the turn. We're going to go for the Poplar, activate the effect of the Poplar. We're going to grab from deck to hand the field spell. We'll activate Divine Temple. Divine Temple's going to go ahead and grab a copy of Snake Eyes Diabellstar, and we'll go for the Anima. Of course, it doesn't do anything here because our opponent's monster can't be targeted due to Aria, but we can shove the Aria back with the Diabellstar by going to combat, then take it in main phase 2. Next, we'll send it for the effect of the Ash, then we'll go for Oak. Oak target Ash, and God, they're being so patient with this Schuberta, it's frustrating. We'll go SP Little Knight here in order to force it out. They will banish 3, including our Ash, but we will have 2 in the graveyard, so we can use the effect of the Oak for a Flambridge Dragon and get the effect. We're going to go Poplar here in order to set this Ash Blossom. That's a secret tool that will help us later. Then we'll go Moon of the Closed Heaven into Requiem. We'll activate the effect of the Requiem for a Lacrima. Then we'll activate the effect of the Lacrima in order to send a copy of the Fiendsmith. The Fiendsmith summons back here, and then afterwards we can go into a Sequentia effect in order to shuffle all 3 back and make a Desiree. From this position, we can send 2 of those to the graveyard for our Promethean Princess, equipped to the Dies Irae, then Promethean Princess for a Flambridge Dragon. Dies Irae here is going to negate the effect of the Promethean Princess, so we can end on a Silo Hat Rabbit. Don't have access to a Masquerena, but still pretty good, including a Druisworm at end step. Now, the thing about Melodious is it can just do the combo again. So we're going to use Silo Hat as early as possible to get rid of the Couplet. Then afterwards, our opponent's going to go battle, forcing out the Dies Irae activation. We're going to target both the Flowering Étoile and the Refrain. Unfortunately, the Étoile will trigger, as will the Dies Irae, to get rid of this scale. They're going to go Baka into another Refrain, then trigger the effect of the Refrain in order to grab a Couplet, which also triggers, summoning out the Soprano, who will also trigger to get the Elegy back to hand, all in damage, by the way. Azurin can trade for the Baka, which does have a graveyard effect that can cycle back this copy of Étoile, then Étoile effect. We'll chain the effect of Snake Eyes Flambridge Dragon to summon out the Ash Blossom, so our Princess is still live, and then they'll walk over the Silhat Rabbit for 100. In main phase 2, they're going to go for Couplet, activate the effect of the Couplet for a Concerto, then they'll activate the effect of their copy of Soprano for a Schuberta. We're going to target the Schuberta as early as possible. We're going to also try to steal the Aria with our field spell. They will Schuberta to contest, but we do still get to pop here, which is great news. They will set scales, then Pendulum summon 1, 2, making another Bloom Harmonist, summoning from their deck a Tam-Tam and a Sonata. Tam-Tam effect here in order to cycle the Poly. Then they'll go for the first in order to grab back a Schuberta to contest my graveyard next turn, ending on Baka, Schuberta, and the returning Étoile. This is still a position where I think we are probably favored. We're going to banish this copy of Schuberta, and I'm just trying to figure out how to win from here. The Fiendsmith draw is devastating. We're going to go as early as possible for the effect of our Lubellion in order to target the Étoile and get it off the field, and now we just have to fiend out this Schuberta. We're going to go Diabellstar, target the pitched copy of Flambridge Dragon, just because at any point they can Schuberta to turn this off, so we want to proc it early. Now, all of their shields are down, and we can finally commit to the AZAMINA lines, but we don't have too much left in the deck to go for. Every single one of our Snake Eyes cards is sitting in the banished zone, so we're just trying to get in with big boys. We're going to tribute some of the Fiendsmith here, and then go into a copy of Requiem effect in order to grab Lacrima, and then afterwards we'll activate the Hollowed AZAMINA in order to send this OSS and summon Murcielago. Finally, we're going to go Nightmare Phoenix, pop the Couplet, then afterwards we can use the Fiendsmith to summon itself by shuffling the Lacrima and activate the Requiem in graveyard, targeting the Fiendsmith so we can finally send the Schuberta. Unfortunately, I think this is the end of our turn. We can get in for a fair amount of damage, but not lethal. I'm racking my brain trying to think if there was another way to do that, but I think that's as effective as it could have gone. They're going to normal summon this copy of Refrain. We will activate the effect of the field spell to get our copy of Snake Eye Diabellstar, and at this point they've been through every Flowering Étoile, every Baka, and every Schuberta. So I'm pretty sure they don't have fusions left, unless they are unfortunately on like a copy of that one weird OTK tool they sometimes play. They're going to cycle a Baka and summon it again, but that doesn't resolve the outstanding conflict. They're going to go for Progenitor of the Agents in order to contest the Snake Eyes Diabellstar, PS2, and Concerto 4. Oh god, they do have it. Bloom Prima, the Melodious Choir. I think it's pretty unlikely we're going to be able to survive this. They'll go battle, walk into the Nightmare Phoenix and the Fiendsmith, then they'll walk over the Diabellstar. We'll activate the Diabellstar, summoning it by sending our field spell, then activating its effect on field, but they can activate Étoile in the battle phase in order to return it to the hand and get in for lethal. What a game. I'm going to be honest, back and forths like that one are why I play Yu-Gi-Oh! In the first place. I'm so happy this format seems to be allowing those games to occur more frequently than they have in the past. Of course, we might see something different in our best of 3 versus meta because our opponent's on Yubel Fiendsmith and we have lost the die roll. Check out that sick grip, by the way. Double Bonfire, Oak, and Flamberge. Take me home, Effect Failure. They're going to go for a copy of Spirit of Yubel. We will chain Effect Failure. They will chain the Sharvara. Okay. Well, it looks like we're in to sit through a full combo. Let's see how far they can go. They're going to go for the effect of the Spirit of Yubel in order to summon a Yubel. Then afterwards, they're going to flip up a copy of Nightmare Pain, activate the effect of the Nightmare Pain in order to pop the Yubel and grab a copy of Mature Chronicle. That's a fun one. They'll go for Terror Incarnate, then activate Mature Chronicle. Afterwards, they're going to link off into a copy of Yama. They'll trigger the effect of the Yama and the effect of the Sharvara, setting a copy of Escape. Wow. And grabbing that Sharvara back. Next, it's time for a Phantom. After that, they're going to trigger the effect of the Mature Chronicle, special out this Grave Squirmer, and link off into a Closed Heaven, into a Requiem, into full Fiendsmith combo. They'll go for the Fiendsmith here, into a Requiem targeting the Fiendsmith. They are playing the Necroquip, so they can activate the Fiendsmith now, summoning itself back by shuffling back the Requiem and going for a Wave High King Caesar. Next up is Grave Squirmer, summoning back the Spirit of Yubel, who will be part of a link off for Unchained Soul of Rage. They're going to cycle back a card off this Mature Chronicle and then make another Phantom before passing turn. This is rough. We draw for turn. Let's start with a Bonfire. That's going to grab us a copy of Poplar, probably necessary because we have the Oak in hand. They'll go for Caesar. We'll chain Magnamut. They'll go for Caesar. Okay, so now theoretically we could draw this Oak into a winning board state. Down comes the Escape of the Unchained. They're going to pop both the Rage and the Oak. That's sick. We'll special the Poplar. Trigger the effect of the Poplar. They're going to trigger the effect of the Yama and the Rage in sequence, which means we do get to resolve it. We'll go into a copy of OSS and link off for it a Nima. Poplar effect targeting itself, summoning it to the back row. Down comes Rage. They will go into an SP Little Knight, and now we have no target for OSS. Let's scoop it up. So it's time for game 2. Our hand looks great, but unfortunately our opponent has a Fuwa Ross. We're going to go for this copy of Diabellstar. We'll activate the effect to send an OSS, then we'll activate the Hallowed AZAMINA into a Fuwa Loss. Okay, let's rethink this hand. We can, instead of going for a Murcielago, go for the Silva, going for the negation immediately, then get that Diabellstar into the graveyard without using the extra deck by tribute summoning the Baldrake, activating the effect of the OSS, shuffling back the Diabellstar to go into a Poplar, into a Divine Temple, so we can Ash into Oak for follow-up next turn. Finally, we will activate Triple Tactics Towns to go into a DDG. We'll activate it, but the Ash will trade for an Oak, which can summon from Banished anyway. We do have a negate, and theoretically the Baldrake can banish as well, though we'll probably have to pick between one or the other. Here we're just going for the Ash for the Oak off the summon of the DBB into a gate. Next up, our opponent is going to make an early Phantom of Yubel into Sharvara. I'm completely fine with this happening. They'll go to the battle phase to contest the Silva. That's frustrating, but they have to pass from here. Not too much the deck can do under macro. We're going to link off for an AZAMINA. We'll trigger the effect of the Poplar, targeting itself. Then we'll go Ash and the Poplar. They'll go for the Phantom of Yubel. We had to get it out of the way eventually. They'll go Spirit of Yubel to summon Yubel, and we should be fine from this position because, of course, we can normal the Oak. Oak effect, in order to special out the Poplar, we'll activate the effect of the Oak, sending the relinquished Anima into a Snake Eyes Flamberge Dragon. We're going to put that Yubel in the back row, into a Moon of the Closed Heaven, into a Requiem, and then Requiem effect to get a copy of Lacrima. Lacrima here can send a copy of the Fiendsmith to the graveyard, who can activate to summon himself, and then the effect of the Requiem can enable the Unchained Soul of Sharvara to be sent as well. They will set an Escape, which is no big deal. We're going to go for a Sequence. We'll activate the effect of the Sequence, shuffling 3 back to make a Desiree. Then afterwards, we can link off for a Promethean Princess. We will go for the effect of the Snake Eyes Flamberge Dragon here before equipping the Sequence and going to battle phase, getting in for well over lethal. Woo! Made it to game 3. So it's time for that all-important game 3, and who the hell is Tricorn the Cacophonous Concert? They assured me this was the goo. I don't believe it. Our hand looks pretty good for going second. We have 3 pieces of non-engine OSS and Bonfire, and we're going to lead, of course, with the Perulia, because we don't want them getting to main and performing a normal. They're going to lead with opening the Spirit Gates. They'll activate the effect in order to grab DBB. You can see they have a couple of Charmies as well. They'll go into Tricorn and then make a Yama. This is as low impact as they can do. We do have Infinite Impermanence, which will prevent it from resolving, but they also do have Escape in hand, which should be fine. They're going to go for the effect of the opening of the Spirit Gates. We will Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. They'll set one and pass, and then afterwards we can go for Deception, activate the effect, tributing the Perulia, which will eat and escape and clear their board so they can Fuwa Loss in a new chain. That's sick. Unfortunately for them, we have an Ash Blossom. They're going to summon out the Cacophonous Man himself, and we should be able to wrap it up from here. Let's go Bonfire. Bonfire for Ash. Ash effect. Let's go ahead and grab from deck to hand a copy of Snake Eyes Poplar. We'll special summon the Poplar, then activate the effect in order to grab from deck to hand the field spell. We don't have to worry about Nibiru or anything, so we'll go ahead and disrespect it. Ash to the graveyard for an Oak. Oak to summon back the Ash. From this position, we can go ahead and activate the effect of the oak in order to summon a Flamberge Dragon, activate the effect of the Poplar, and quick reminder, we don't want to trigger that Yama, so he goes to the back row. We'll go for a Hita and then summon a bunch of monsters, at which point we can activate the Bellstar for a quick lethal without too much thinking. Wow, what a best of 3. So we're back with the deck, and man, that felt good to play. Let's do the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1. Snake's back. This deck felt like Fiendsmith released Snakes, where every sub-engine dovetails beautifully into the next one. Bellstar as a flexible piece of combo instead of a backup plan if you get ashed, lines around loss, droll, everything. 2. The deck really rewards skill expression. There have been formats that felt very do your combo and I'll do mine recently, but this isn't one of them. Those games, man. And 3, the extra no longer feels as, oh my god, please just one more slot, as it has in the past. The AZAMINAs are so applicable so often that you almost always have what you need. And the cons. 1, you're going to have to make a pretty clear decision about what you want this deck to be doing. Theoretically, it could go into Necroquip, into Caesar, into Access Code. In fact, some of those might have won me the games we lost. Unfortunately, it means you're going to have to do more testing than net decking. 2, it's expensive as all hell. This goes for everything playing Fualas, but it's hard to justify this 4-digit price tag. And 3, there are still cards that eat it alive. Shifter, for instance. All in all, I love where the deck and the format have ended up. Now, if only this thing was cheaper. A huge shouts out to the individuals who make these videos possible, most notably my Patreons. The high tier ones are in front of you right now, and I will read their names as contractually obligated. First up is Slifer274, followed by Elena Tincher, Alex Perea, Allison Elliott, Ally, Brett Henry, Darkmaster Zork, Derpin Dragon, Devin Senpai, DJ Elefante, FPS Lord Derp, John Piet, Killer Croc 467, Night Mary, Legal Rights, Lockstone, Luis Hernandez, Lullaby of Souls, Master of Faster, Matthew M. Derezzo, MBT Play Madolce, Mike Carlotti, N54 Lionheart, Nacho Gonzalez, Nebulo Yu-Gi-Oh!, Project Mercury, Rose Lapine, Troy Says By Erasure is Gay, Who's Nick, Wonder Waffle, Your Pot of Greed Does What, and Yuki. Couldn't have done it without you.